It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, you're live with Expresso. Thank you so much for tuning in as we continue to talk about health matters right now and looking at our overall health, in particular our mental well-being. We know we've said this a number of times on the show, depression affects millions of people around the world. But unfortunately, there is no quick answer or a specific diet that will ease the symptoms of depression or instantly put you in a better mood. But there are some massive positive steps that we can take in the right direction. The good news is that a healthy diet and lifestyle may really help play a part in that overall treatment in a way that is quite dramatic. And here with some advice is our registered dietitian, Megan Pence-Clates. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We've looked at this from a number of angles, and I suppose we've formulated opinions now of how to approach this. And you never want to treat it too lightly because depression affects so many people on such a fundamental level. But what piece of advice do you have maybe to set the tone for someone who is caught in the grips of depression, no matter where we sit on that scale, on that spectrum? What advice do you have?
Absolutely. So if you're basically being diagnosed with depression or going through a major episode, one of the things I can really suggest as a health hack really, or my first one, would be try something new. And there's a reason for this. In actual fact, our dopamine, which is in our brain, it's a neurotransmitter, it actually senses the sense of enjoyment. So by trying something new, we actually elevate it.
Just spark
yeah.
that, yeah.
And you know, that's something, it can be actually small. It can be like walking on, taking a new route, or, trying on clothes that you haven't worn for quite a long time, or going out with a friend. Anything that sparks that new interest can actually be quite beneficial.
Just maybe take a step in the right direction from a health perspective. Eat something new. We have spoken about various ingredients, omega, fatty acids, things that certainly help the health of our brain. But when looking at tackling and at least arming ourselves, fortifying ourselves against depression, does diet really help? Can it?
Absolutely. So the one thing that a person would definitely look at is, firstly, looking at ensuring an adequate intake of your greens, ensuring an adequate intake of protein, and then, of course, your omega-3s. Now, there's some studies that have started to show that there might be benefit, but the jury is still out. But in saying this, it is important to include. So if you're fond of fatty or oily fish, go for that. And then, of course, we've got our canola oil, and that's high in omega-3 as well. So include that on a daily basis as part of your diet as well.
Think about it, it can be difficult if you're out at social gatherings around the pride. It's not always the easiest thing to look after your health, but just be conscious of it. Would you say there is a natural antidepressant? What would be the best natural antidepressant?
Okay, so if we're looking at, from a diet perspective, of course, we need to look at the entire lifestyle. So specific foods that I would recommend is firstly, let's eat regularly, because that helps to keep our blood sugar levels constant. The moment you're actually looking at a party or anything like that, we tend to overindulge. Lots of alcohol very often. Some people forget to eat at a party. And when that happens, of course, is you get, the alcohol has a depressant effect. So my recommendation would be steer clear of too many sugar-laden and fat-laden foods, because that spikes the blood sugar. And for a very short period of time, it makes you feel great. But then you come plummeting down. And of course, that can also lead inadvertently to unwanted weight gain. So the choices would be better is, foods that have been shown to increase your serotonin in your brain. And those would be looking at walnuts, looking at your greens, once again, particularly spinach, looking at your protein like your eggs, your legumes, and not forgetting banana and oats. So if you're just looking at from a breakfast to a lunch scenario, you're looking at having something like oats for breakfast with some banana and some nuts, going over to breakfast to lunchtime, adding in some legumes, maybe lean meats or even eggs, and adding in your spinach and your greens. And then, of course, let's not forget exercise.
Just free your mind, let the endorphins flow. I think most of us, we go through situations where, whether we are predisposed to depression or not, there are situations that push us probably beyond that line. Anyone who is feeling the weight of that loneliness right now, going through a depressive kind of state or space, or maybe is dealing with full-on depression, what advice do you have for them?
Well, firstly, know that you're not alone. please do, contact and speak to close family members, someone you can trust, or friends, etc. Remember that you can speak to your GP. There are also counselling services
Good advice,
available.
yeah.
And it's actually quite important, because by doing that, we grow closer to people when we sometimes share. And the most important thing is not to hang on and think that you're alone in this. Many people are experiencing this and would be love to help you if they actually can and they know about it. And of course, don't forget the services that are on offer.
And they do really know. They have trained and they really do know how to help you. Megan, thank you so much. I think we've looked at that from a number of angles. Most importantly, an opportunity for you to look at your own situation and maybe just take that first small step, that little moment of change that can spark something really positive in your life. And hopefully you can tackle your daily events today a little lighter, a little brighter as well. Got to look at it from a physical and emotional well-being standpoint.